10. Point Cook RAAF Base, Victoria. Point Cook RAAF Base holds an unparalleled place in Australian history as the birthplace of the Royal Australian Air Force. Established in 1913 as the Central Flying School, it's the world's oldest continually operating military airfield. It's where the first military flights took place, where Australian airmen were first trained, and where the RAAF officially formed in 1921. It has served as a primary training base, a proving ground for new aircraft, and a museum dedicated to preserving Australia's rich aviation heritage. Imagine the sheer innovation and daring of those early aviators, pushing the boundaries of flight with rudimentary aircraft. This base is a living museum, teeming with the ghosts of Australian aviation's earliest heroes and their pioneering machines. Given its profound historical significance and the countless pioneering aviators who served and, in some cases, died within its grounds, it's no surprise that Point Cook RAAF Base is widely considered one of Australia's most haunted locations. Many of the reported phenomena are deeply connected to the early days of aviation and the spirits of those who forged the RAAF. One of the most commonly reported apparitions is the ghost of an early RAAF pilot, often seen in the vicinity of the older hangars and museum buildings. Witnesses describe him as being dressed in flight gear from the 1920s or 30s, sometimes appearing to be inspecting the vintage aircraft. He is often perceived as a benign presence, simply observing the activities on the base he once called home. Other notable paranormal reports include disembodied voices and whispers. Visitors and staff within the RAAF Museum, located at Point Cook, have reported hearing faint conversations, the sound of equipment being moved, or even clear whispers when no one else is around, particularly near the older aircraft exhibits. Unexplained sounds of old aircraft. The distinctive sounds of early aircraft engines, sometimes sputtering or taking off, have been heard when no such aircraft are operational or even on display outside. These are often believed to be residual energy imprints of the intense activity from decades past. Moving objects and cold spots. Items within the museum are sometimes found to have shifted overnight, and sudden, inexplicable drops in temperature are common, particularly in areas associated with tragic incidents or the earliest days of flight. The feeling of a presence. Many people report an overwhelming feeling of being watched or a palpable presence in certain areas, particularly around the meticulously preserved vintage aircraft, as if the spirits of their former pilots are still very much with them. Point Cook is a place where history breathes, and where the courageous spirits of Australia's aviation pioneers continue to fly, forever bound to the place where their remarkable journey began. It serves as a powerful reminder that some legacies, and some souls, truly never fade. 9. Bellerat Airport, Bellerat, Victoria. Bellerat Airport, originally known as Bellerat Airfield, was established in the early 1930s. Its primary role was civilian aviation and flight training. However, with the onset of World War II, its importance escalated dramatically. It was transformed into a vital RAAF training base, specifically No. 1 Wireless Air Gunner School and later No. 1 Navigator Bomb Aimer School. Thousands of airmen passed through its gates, training for the perilous aerial combat ahead. It was a place of intense learning, camaraderie, and the constant hum of training aircraft filling the skies. Bellerat Airport's haunting reputation is almost entirely dominated by a single, catastrophic event, the Bellerat Airfield disaster of 1943. On November 19, 1943, during a training exercise, a RAAF Anson aircraft collided in mid-air with a RAAF Oxford aircraft directly over the airfield. Both planes plummeted to the ground, killing all 10 airmen on board, 5 in each aircraft. It was one of the worst aviation accidents in Australian history at the time, and the tragedy deeply impacted the local community and the RAAF. Since that devastating day, numerous reports suggest that the spirits of these lost airmen continue to haunt the airport. The most prominent and chilling accounts include apparitions of airmen. Witnesses have reported seeing ghostly figures in World War II RAAF uniforms, particularly in the vicinity of where the planes crashed. These figures are often described as appearing disoriented or sorrowful. Disembodied voices and cries. Security guards working late shifts and even pilots waiting for early morning flights have reported hearing the sounds of men's voices, sometimes crying out, or faint, unidentifiable shouts, seemingly coming from empty areas of the airfield. The sound of crashing planes. Perhaps the most disturbing phenomenon is the occasional, phantom sound of a plane engine sputtering, a collision, and the distant, sickening sound of a crash, even when no aircraft are in the air. This auditory haunting is believed to be a residual energy imprint of the 1943 disaster, perpetually replaying the tragic event. Unexplained cold spots and feelings of sadness. Visitors to certain areas of the airfield, particularly near the memorials or the general crash sites, often report a sudden, profound sense of sadness or inexplicable cold. The pervasive nature of this particular haunting makes Bellerat Airport a poignant and unsettling location, a place where the sacrifice and final moments of 10 brave airmen are seemingly etched into the very air, forever reminding those who pass through of the price of war and the fragility of life. 8. Paraffield Airport, Adelaide, South Australia. Paraffield Airport, established in 1927, served as Adelaide's main airport until the opening of Adelaide Airport, West Beach, in 1955. It was a bustling hub during the pioneering days of Australian aviation, welcoming famous aviators and playing a critical role in developing air travel in South Australia. Like many early airfields, it also served as a training ground for pilots and played a part in military operations during World War II, though primarily as a training and support base. It saw countless departures and arrivals, both joyful and somber, and was a place of innovation and excitement for a generation embracing the wonders of flight. Its history is a testament to the growth of aviation in a rapidly modernizing Australia. Paraffield Airport has a persistent reputation for being one of South Australia's most haunted locations, with numerous reports of paranormal activity from various individuals over the decades. Much of this activity is believed to stem from its long history and the various incidents and deaths that have occurred on or near its grounds. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the sighting of a ghostly figure often described as an elderly man in old-fashioned pilot's attire. He is said to appear near the historic hangars or even walking along the perimeter of the airfield, as if inspecting the grounds. Some believe he is the spirit of an early aviator, perhaps someone who met their end in an accident at the airport, or simply a dedicated pilot who never truly left his beloved airfield. Beyond this specific apparition, a wide range of unexplained occurrences are reported by airport staff, security personnel, and even flight instructors and students who spend late hours at the airport. These include disembodied voices and whispers heard in empty offices, hangars, and the old control tower. Flickering lights and electrical disturbances, lights turning on and off, or equipment malfunctioning without a logical explanation, often in older parts of the airport. Unexplained cold spots, sudden, drastic drops in temperature in localized areas, regardless of the ambient conditions. The sensation of being watched or touched, people report feeling a presence behind them, or even a light tap on the shoulder when no one is there. Moving objects, small items shifting on desks or shelves, and doors opening or closing on their own. Many of these incidents are attributed to the residual energy of lives lived and, in some cases, lost, at Paraffield. The constant flow of emotions, the high stakes of early aviation, and the occasional tragedies have left an undeniable imprint, making Paraffield a fascinating and unsettling blend of aviation history and enduring paranormal mystery. 7. Camden Airport, Sydney, New South Wales. Camden Airport, established in 1935, has always been synonymous with general aviation, flight training, and agricultural aviation. Unlike its larger, more bustling counterparts, Camden maintained a quieter, more community-focused atmosphere. It was a hub for gliding, private pilot training, and aerial photography, a place where aspiring aviators took their first solo flights. During World War II, it played a less direct but still important role as a satellite field and training area for the RAAF. For decades, it has been a place of learning, innovation in agricultural aviation, and a launchpad for countless recreational flights over the scenic Macarthur region. Its history is largely one of peaceful progress and the pursuit of flight. Despite its calm exterior, Camden Airport is notably known for one specific and recurring paranormal phenomenon, the ghost of a young boy. This particular haunting is tied to a tragic incident that occurred on the airport grounds. While specific historical records detailing the child's exact demise are often anecdotal rather than official, the local legend persists that a young boy, perhaps a curious onlooker or a child from a nearby farm, was tragically killed in a historical accident on the airfield. Witnesses, including pilots, ground staff, and even visitors, have reported seeing the apparition of a small boy, often described as being around 8 to 10 years old, running across the runways or near the hangars, particularly at dusk or in the early morning. He is said to be dressed in old-fashioned clothing, and sometimes appears to be playing or looking for something, before quickly fading away. Some accounts describe him as having a mischievous, yet sad, expression. There are also reports of unexplained childlike giggles or whispers heard in empty areas of the airport, particularly in the older buildings. Objects are sometimes reported to have been moved, or small, inexplicable disturbances occur, leading some to believe the boy's spirit is not malicious, but simply playful and perhaps lonely. The consistency of this particular apparition and the general consensus among those who work at or frequent Camden Airport have solidified its reputation as a place where the innocent spirit of a child, tragically lost, continues to play among the aircraft, forever bound to the place that marked the end of his brief life. 6. RAAF Base Richmond, New South Wales. RAAF Base Richmond, established in 1925, is the Royal Australian Air Force's oldest and continuously operating air base. Its rich history spans almost a century, serving through every major conflict Australia has been involved in. From its early days as a training ground and research facility, it rapidly expanded during World War II, becoming a critical base for transport, reconnaissance, and bombing operations in the Pacific. Post-war, it continued its vital role, adapting to new aircraft and missions, including humanitarian aid and strategic airlift. Countless pilots, ground crew, and support staff have lived, worked, and, in some cases, made the ultimate sacrifice within its sprawling perimeter. It is a place where lives were dedicated to service, and where the constant presence of mighty aircraft has shaped its very identity. Given its extensive history and the many lives connected to it, IAF Base Richmond has developed a reputation for being remarkably active with paranormal phenomena. Stories of spectral airmen are particularly prevalent. One of the most frequently reported incidents involves the appearance of a phantom pilot in full World War I-era flying gear. Witnesses, including current RAF personnel and civilian contractors, have described seeing this figure near the hangars, sometimes seemingly gazing up at the aircraft, only to vanish without a trace. Some believe he is a pilot who never truly left his post, perhaps a casualty of a training accident or a wartime mission who returned to the place he knew best. Beyond specific apparitions, the base is rife with unexplained occurrences. Security personnel working night shifts have reported hearing disembodied footsteps and voices in empty buildings, particularly in older administrative blocks and the vast, silent hangars. Lights are said to flicker on and off independently, and doors, especially those with heavy mechanisms, have been known to swing open or slam shut with no visible cause. There are also accounts of sudden, localized cold spots even on warm nights, and the strong, fleeting smell of old aviation fuel or cigarettes in areas where no one is smoking. The vastness of the base and its deeply ingrained history of both everyday life and moments of intense drama, sacrifice, and loss, provide fertile ground for such phenomena. For those who serve at Richmond, the presence of these unseen companions is often discussed with a mix of awe and acceptance, a quiet acknowledgement that some of the base's past occupants are still performing their duties, or simply waiting for their next flight. 5. Darwin International Airport, Darwin, Northern Territory. Darwin International Airport's history is deeply intertwined with the city's tumultuous past. Established in 1937 as a civilian airport, its role dramatically shifted with the outbreak of World War II. It became a crucial military base, known as RAAF Darwin, a frontline defense point against Japanese aggression. It was subjected to devastating air raids, most notably the bombing of Darwin on February 19, 1942, which claimed many lives and inflicted immense destruction. After the war, it resumed its dual role as a civilian and military airport, serving as a gateway to Asia and a key operational base for the RAF in Northern Australia. Its resilience, built on the ashes of wartime devastation, defines its identity. Given its intense wartime history and the sheer loss of life experienced during the bombings, it's perhaps unsurprising that Darwin International Airport is a location where lingering energies and unexplained phenomena are often reported. While specific, widely publicized ghost sightings or detailed encounters at the civilian airport itself are less documented in mainstream reports, the underlying atmosphere of historical trauma and the sheer volume of military and civilian lives impacted by the events that unfolded there contribute to its haunted reputation. Local researchers and paranormal investigators, such as anomalistic psychologist Dr. Chrissy Wilson from Charles Darwin University, have actively sought out spooky spots in Darwin, recognizing that places which have experienced significant tragedy or emotional intensity often retain a residual electricity. The airport, with its history of a sudden and violent past, fits this profile. Accounts, often shared amongst long-term residents and airport personnel, speak of unexplainable feelings of unease, sudden temperature drops in certain areas, or the sensation of being watched when alone. These experiences are often attributed to the spirits of those who perished during the wartime bombings, military personnel, civilians, and even those who simply passed through its gates before meeting their fate. The memory of the chaotic, terrifying air raids, the heroism, and the profound loss, are said to be etched into the very fabric of the airport and the surrounding land. While not always manifesting as full apparitions, the pervasive sense of a tragic past, particularly in the quiet hours of the night, is a common thread in the paranormal lore of Darwin International Airport, a stark reminder of the sacrifices made on its ground. 4. Mascot Airport, Sydney Airport, Sydney, New South Wales. From the skies of Queensland, we descend into the bustling heart of Australia's busiest airport, Sydney Airport, famously known as Mascot. Beneath the constant thrum of global travel, unsettling stories of lingering spirits suggest some never truly departed. Sydney Airport, originally known as Mascot Aerodrome, has been operational since 1920, making it one of the world's oldest continually operating commercial airports. It grew from a humble airstrip on reclaimed swampland into a sprawling international gateway, connecting Sydney to every corner of the globe. Its history is intertwined with the very fabric of modern Australia, witnessing countless historical events, technological advancements in aviation, and the personal dramas of millions of travelers. The land itself was initially owned by Richard and Catherine Dotson, early settlers whose lives were deeply rooted in the area long before aircraft dominated the skyline. Despite its modern facade, Sydney Airport carries a surprisingly rich tradition of paranormal reports. Many of these stories are linked to the original landowners, Richard and Catherine Dotson. Pilots and ground staff have reported seeing ghostly figures, believed to be the spirits of the Dotsons, standing near the runways, particularly at dusk. Pilots have recounted unnerving sightings of shadowy figures, described as non-threatening but undeniably unsettling, appearing in their peripheral vision near the landing strips. Beyond the Dotsons, travelers and airport staff have reported a range of eerie occurrences. Unexplained noises, flickering lights, and sudden, inexplicable drops in temperature are common complaints. The vast network of underground tunnels beneath the airport, essential for baggage and service, are particularly cited as hotspots for activity. Maintenance workers have spoken of hearing disembodied footsteps and voices in these tunnels when they are certain no one else is around. Perhaps one of the most frequently reported apparitions is that of a woman in white seen near the baggage claim area. Travelers have described seeing her appear lost or disoriented, only for her to vanish into thin air as they approach. Baggage handlers and cleaning staff working the late shifts also recount stories of ghostly passengers and inexplicable phenomena, leading some to actively avoid working alone at night. These diverse accounts, from the spectral landowners overseeing their former property to the restless spirits of unknown travelers, paint a picture of an airport where the boundaries between this world and the next occasionally blur, making every late-night flight or empty corridor a potential encounter with the unexplained. 3. IAF Base Amberley, Ipswitch, Queensland. Established in 1940, quickly became a cornerstone of Australia's air defence and offensive capabilities. Throughout World War II, it was a vital training and operational base for bombers and fighter aircraft, playing a crucial role in the Pacific theatre. Post-war, it continued to be a hub for strategic air power, housing a variety of aircraft, from the Canberra bombers to the F-111s and now the Super Hornets. It's a place where generations of airmen and women have trained, fought, and sometimes, made the ultimate sacrifice. The base's history is a tapestry of daring flights, intense training exercises, and the grim realities of conflict, all woven into the landscape around Ipswich. RAAF Base Amberley has gained a reputation for being a highly active site for paranormal phenomena, particularly within its RAAF Amberley Aviation Heritage Centre. Visitors and staff alike have reported a wide range of inexplicable occurrences, suggesting that some of the spirits of past aviators and personnel may still linger. One of the most compelling accounts centers around specific aircraft within the museum. The B-24 Liberator heavy bomber, notably a famous one named Strawberry Bitch, though its haunting status is more associated with an American example, the lore extends to others of its kind, is reportedly haunted by the belly gunners who perished inside it during combat. Visitors have claimed to see lights flickering on inside the otherwise powered-down aircraft and, even more chillingly, hear the distinct rattling of the belly guns, as if preparing for an unseen threat. Beyond specific aircraft, the general activity reported at the Heritage Centre is widespread. Staff have recounted hearing disembodied voices, unexplained music, and the crashing sounds of objects when no one else is in the building. One employee vividly recalled having their name whispered directly into their ear while standing alone near a wall. Another witnessed a heavy door opening and closing on its own, with no visible explanation. There are also reports of shadow figures moving across rooms and the apparition of a woman peering down from the third-floor mezzanine. These consistent and varied reports from multiple witnesses suggest a strong, lingering presence, perhaps of those who loved these planes, or who met their end serving their country from this very base. The sounds of a bygone era, the spectral figures, and the active machinery within the museum itself create an incredibly compelling and chilling narrative of a base where the past truly lives on. 2. Archerfield Airport, Brisbane, Queensland. Archerfield Airport, originally established in the 1920s, quickly grew to become Brisbane's major airport before the development of Eagle Farm, now Brisbane Airport. It was a vital civilian and military airfield, especially during World War II. Imagine the constant roar of engines, the hurried movements of personnel, and the intense anticipation of troop movements and supply flights. Archerfield was a crucial logistical hub for the Allied forces in the Pacific, a gateway for countless brave service members heading into the unknown. But its history stretches even further back. The land itself was once part of a pioneer's family burial plot, a small cemetery known as God's Acre, where the Grenier family and other early settlers laid their loved ones to rest, including 16-year-old Volney Grenier, who died in 1859. This ancient cemetery still exists, a silent witness on the very grounds of the airport. The most prominent haunting at Archerfield is deeply tied to a tragic wartime incident. On March 27, 1943, a Royal Australian Air Force C-47 Dakota transport plane took off from Archerfield just after 5 a.m. on a mission to Sydney. Less than a minute later, the aircraft rolled left, plummeted to the ground, smashing into trees and exploding. All 23 Australian and US military personnel on board perished. A memorial plaque now stands as a somber reminder of this horrific event. It is said that the ghost of a World War II Royal Australian Air Force airman, dressed in full uniform, goggles, and cap, carrying a deployed parachute, has been seen wandering the airport. Many believe this apparition is one of the victims from that ill-fated 1943 crash, a soul still perhaps attempting to complete his final, aborted mission, forever bound to the place where his journey abruptly ended. Witnesses, including airport staff, have reported seeing this spectral figure, a poignant reminder of the ultimate sacrifices made during the war. The presence of God's Acre Cemetery on the airport grounds further adds to the unsettling atmosphere, suggesting that not all spirits rest peacefully, especially when their resting place becomes a place of constant noise, activity, and, in some cases, sudden, violent ends. Archerfield, truly, is an airfield where the past is never far from the present. 1. Essendon Airport, Melbourne, Victoria. Essendon Airport, established in 1921, holds a significant place in Australian aviation. For decades, it was Melbourne's primary airport, a bustling hub connecting the city to the world. Imagine the roaring biplanes, the grand passenger liners, the heartfelt goodbyes, and joyous reunions. It was a place of innovation, of progress, and of countless personal stories unfolding against the backdrop of an ever-evolving aviation landscape. From its early days, facilitating mail runs and commercial flights, to its pivotal role during World War II as a base for military operations, Essendon was a cornerstone of Victorian life. It saw the dawn of commercial air travel, the glamour of the golden age of flight, and the tireless efforts of ground crews and pilots. While Essendon eventually transitioned to a general aviation and corporate jet facility with the rise of Melbourne Airport, its storied past seems to cling to its runways and hangars. One of the more peculiar elements contributing to its eerie reputation isn't a human spectre, but a colossal sculpture nicknamed Lucifer. This 32-foot-tall, bright blue Mustang horse, with its blazing red eyes, stands guard over the airport. The chilling part? Its creator was tragically killed when a piece of the sculpture fell on him, severing an artery during its construction. Some believe this incident imbued Lucifer with accursed energy, casting a long, unsettling shadow over the airport. Beyond Lucifer, while concrete, well-documented individual ghost sightings are less widely publicized compared to some other locations, the sheer age and activity of Essendon's past lend themselves to an atmosphere ripe for lingering energies. Aviation environments, with their intense moments of anticipation, departure, and sometimes, tragedy, are often said to hold residual emotional imprints. The occasional unexplained flickering of lights in old hangars, the feeling of being watched in quieter corners, or the faint, unidentifiable sounds reported by night shift workers could easily be attributed to the airport's deep history and the countless souls who passed through its gates, some perhaps still waiting for their final flight. The memory of its wartime efforts, the echoes of hurried goodbyes, and the tragic incident of its iconic guardian all weave into the fabric of Essendon's subtly haunted lore.